Successful women are tired. They are tired of being the strong friend. They are tired of being the one who holds it together. They are tired of being the one who achieves everything, comes to the aid of everyone else while they are left holding their emotional baggage, wondering when someone is going to allow them to rest too. That is a very specific kind of woman who needs a very specific kind of man, who needs a very specific kind of community. A lot of times when women like that are describing what they want from love, from relationships, from friends, from community, from life, people often act like she is delusional. The idea of getting exactly what you want in a world where many people actually do, that somehow it's too much for you to be asking for. But really, those people are just not qualified to give you that advice. Those people are not going where you're going. It's not a matter of them being wrong. It's about you being right about your own life. What life do you want? By the time successful women hire me as their relationship strategist, I am not just dealing with a woman who needs relationship advice, because these are not women who struggle with finding quality men, with organizing their life. These are not women who are looking for a man with money just so he can solve her problems. She has her own money. She has her own investments. She can solve her own problems. But what she wants a man for is not the financial support. It's so that she can relax. It's so that she can come home and know that someone else is willing to take the burden of life's responsibilities and allow her to slow down. And a lot of times when you have this conversation, people, especially men who are not qualified, always want to say, well, what about them? What about the man? What about what they need? The truth is that if you have to ask that question, you are not the man that I am talking about. Because not only is this man capable of holding space for her, but he also is able to regulate himself and his own life. And what he requires of this woman is not a plate of dinner made every single night. It's not, are you washing dishes and organizing the house? Are these things that he benefits from? Sure. But he isn't requiring of them. What he actually wants is love, kindness, loyalty. And that is something these women have in abundance. And oftentimes it is abused, it is ignored, it is taken advantage of. And these are your nice girls who grew up doing everything that they were supposed to, only to work out that the world is not functioning on goodness and kindness. It is functioning on saying what you want and going after what you desire. And oftentimes for women, that looks like being a bit of a bitch. Having such strong boundaries that you F around and find out that I am no longer available. You cannot call me up. We are not friends. I don't care how much you stalk my Instagram page. I'm not circling back around and finding out what kind of foolishness you've dug out of your bag of tricks today. So for my women who are tired, my successful women who are the first in their families to go get degrees, to go get great corporate jobs, to make six figures, to get in healthy relationships, to buy a home, to create a life that allows your children to benefit from the fruits of your labor, your internal work, your identity work. This video is for you. Today we're talking about some mindset shifts that you specifically need to hold on to every time you step out into the world, whether it is you are now dating again, you are pursuing a different career path, you are interested in just returning back to yourself, returning back to the softness, to the femininity that you have and desire to carry forward in your life, but you are struggling with the balance of the work you, the powerful get it done you, and the soft you that would actually like a hug at the end of the day, and someone else to say that they've got this. This is, quite frankly, the foundation work that I do with my clients when they come into my world. Because again, dating and love is not just dating and love. When you are a successful woman, it really is about this part, this foundational piece that is necessary for you to get clear on, so that the lens that you are using to filter your entire life is from a healthier place and not from your past traumas or what you saw your mother and father do or what you unconsciously stored as normal that actually does not benefit you. The first identity shift is that just because you saw it done doesn't mean we have to repeat it. Now, this is easier said than done because oftentimes it is actually quite sneaky the way that you are repeating your mother's cycle or your father's cycle. It is not the obvious ones. It is not you went off and got married to a man who treats you just like your mom was treated by her dad, or you decided that you were going to get a great job, but unlike your parents, you saved up money and you organized your life in a way that maybe they didn't have the tools to do. This can look like you protecting yourself so much from the image that you saw your mother hold. And I'm going to focus on mothers because that's where my work focuses on, but you can interchange both, but I would assume as a successful woman, you probably have a little bit of both. So if you saw your mother, let's just say she stayed, right? And she was the breadwinner. She had a great job. She had a great education. And she really emphasized that money wasn't everything and that she wasn't going to, at the end of the day, she loved your dad, but she wasn't going to leave your father. And for her, it was more about what is marriage and what is partnership. And she really emphasized the faith-based relationships, you know, that you share the same culture, the same faith, the same foundational core beliefs. And on the surface, this is great, right? You're aligned on really big core things that ultimately are going to impact your family later on down the road. But if your mom ultimately was not making herself a priority because she was making her husband, your father, a priority, then it would also mean that you weren't a priority. And what I see a lot of times with very successful women is that they are not a priority in their life. This is unconscious. They would not openly say, yeah, no, I don't prioritize myself, and especially in relationships. What they find is that there are sneaky ways that this shows up where you have a self-care routine. You have an organized, I'm going to get it done. These are oftentimes the women that do not cry over a breakup. These are the women who are going to get up and go get a certification, go run up a bag, get a degree, literally pop out on you making six figures or $1 million, right? But when they get into relationships, they are so gung-ho that when their partners say, oh, you're doing this again, now you don't have time for me, or they're very sensitive and in tuned to other people's needs. And then they'll find that slowly but surely they stopped prioritizing their self-care. They stopped prioritizing the massage that they liked, learning a new language, traveling more, going back to school, because that relationship, those children, their nieces, nephews, cousins, siblings, all became more important than themselves. That's what I mean when we're repeating the same cycles. It doesn't seem obvious, but it's still the underlying subconscious beliefs that are determining the actions that we take in life. So if you are a successful woman, put the cape down. Put it down. Literally lock that up, throw it in the ocean, bury it underground, and don't go get it out. Practice saying no. Practice saying, you know what, let me think about it. Practice saying, you know what, I actually don't have time today. A lot of successful women literally will make time for everything else and then come back from work and all they can do is sit on a couch and go to sleep. They're just tired. And if you remember your mother doing that, or you remember people in your life doing that, you are subconsciously repeating the same narrative unintentionally. The second part of this, the identity shift that I want you to focus on, and remember, every time someone steps out and tries to make you guilty for your no, for your boundary, is that sometimes we're talking to the wrong people. We got to start qualifying people to be around us. And I know that for people who, especially if you're overcoming traumas where it's like, you got to turn the other cheek. Be loving, be kind to everybody. Sometimes not everybody is loving to you. And unless you are trying to run for, I don't even know, I can't even come up with something. If you're trying to not be independent, happy, joyful, loving, kind, fulfilled in your life, then no, it doesn't work for you. Because when people especially, and this is always, when you see successful women who are in the place where I am now, where I'm like, yeah, put the cape down, it's because we've overcome what you're experiencing. We were the person that everyone could rely on. I was answering the phone every single time. And then eventually I realized no one's answering for me. And when they are answering, you want to talk about yourself and not talk about me. And there will be, guaranteed, people who hear this and they're like, yeah, but, we shouldn't be showing up for people because they're showing up, how much they're showing up for us. We shouldn't be keeping tally of that. Yeah, right. Except we are all human. I am not an endless pit of energy that I can devote to everybody else's life and then leave myself with nothing, right? There are genuinely some people that you need to leave behind. There are genuinely some people that you need to love from a distance. Even if it's temporary, even if you just practice not answering the phone as often, practice not being so available, just see how your energy feels. When they say you break up with somebody who's draining your energy, you lose weight, you glow up, you look great, you start that business. Why? Because your time and energy were being focused on that person and not on yourself. So when we think about the kind of people that we're talking to, when you share your bigger dreams, when you say as a successful woman, I am tired and I just want to be in a relationship where I am prioritized in the way that I prioritize other people. I was talking to a woman and one of the things she wants, she's like, I don't mind my husband's job and his goals being the priority. And I'm like, hey guys, we got to go. Daddy has a work trip. There are women who are not even interested in being the boss woman in their family, right? There are some women who genuinely just want to be married or in a relationship, in a partnership with a man who knows what it means to be a man, who does not need to be taught. Now, that men who need to be taught, that's a separate conversation, and I'm not having that one today. Is there grace to be given to some men? Sure. But am I a counselor? Am I a therapist? Am I your preschool teacher? No. If the same way that women are required to go heal and get their lives together so that you aren't bringing baggage to a man, the same thing applies to men, because these very specific women that I'm talking about are the kind of women that can make an incredible man unstoppable. These are the kind of women that have love that is healing. These are your, I want to be friends with her kind of woman. These are the women who give advice that changes your life for the better. So no, we do not need a man that we need to teach what emotional intelligence looks like. So when you're sharing that you want this, a lot of times women find that they're like, people think I'm delusional because this is what I want. You don't need everybody to see your vision. You don't need everybody to agree with what you want. You need one man who wants to put a ring on your finger. You need one man who wants to be the partnership that you want, that sees the vision that you have. You don't need everybody to understand and agree. When I got married to my husband, there were a lot of people who had something to say about it. Fast forward over a decade later, and those relationships where they've sat so comfortably judging, they're not even together anymore. Because why? Because their relationships weren't actually built on the strong enough foundation to keep going. And the truth is, these kind of women, when you are this kind of woman, you need someone who is strong, but kind. There's strength. My husband has a strength to him where I know I can go to him for anything. I know even if I'm just stressed, I will literally just say to him, Nigel, his name is Nigel. Nigel, I'm stressed. I just want to tell you, I don't even have a solution. I don't need you to have a solution. I just want to tell you, I'm thinking about these things and it's causing anxiety. I'm running these thoughts and I don't want to, right? And he will just sit down and listen. And then sometimes it's a solution. Sometimes it's just, I want to just say it. How many times have you, as a strong friend, I know plenty of women who will literally be like, I feel like I can't say it because they're looking at me like, how are you having a problem? How can you be the one struggling to organize your life? You're having anxiety, you're having depression, you're overwhelmed by the things that you need to do. We're relying on you, right? They're not calling you to just ask you how you're doing. They're calling you to say they have a problem and they need you to solve it. So yes, sometimes people are not qualified to be in the spaces that you're in, because the same way you want to think of your home as this safe space, your mind, your energy is that safe space. And if you are someone who wants to get married, to have children, to create a legacy with your family, and that doesn't mean you want to be Beyonce on a stage somewhere with billions of dollars. That could just mean you want a legacy of love, a legacy of being connected and together, a strong family unit. That's not going to happen if your energy is going to everything but working on yourself, but working on building relationships with people who are actually qualified to hold space for you, that can handle you with care and love. The third part to this is that I want you to practice play. I want you to practice returning back to your inner child in a way that probably hasn't felt safe for a very long time. There are so many women who are labeled as serious, labeled as hard, labeled as mean, because no one has given them the room to just not have the answers, to not be available for anything other than laughter. And when I, at the start of my healing journey, used to do this, it was really about softening enough to just do what I wanted to. Even if there wasn't an agenda, there wasn't a to-do list, there wasn't a big goal. Sometimes it's waking up one day, especially if you're single and you don't have any requirements on you other than your job. Decide that you want to have breakfast at a cafe, try a new cafe. You want to go, some women work remotely. Grab your laptop and go to the beach and work on what you need to there. It could be taking a dance class. It could be taking a cooking class. It could be taking a makeup class, learning how to curl your hair, going to a spa and getting a facial. One thing that I like to do is I love self-care, and I will literally book appointments for my house, because I found that sometimes going out and remembering appointments, going to these appointments is actually a lot more work than sometimes I have. Sometimes my energy tank is a little too low. Try that. Try having an appointment at your house. Give yourself permission to do something different. Break your routine. Because when you're the kind of woman that people are requiring to show up endlessly, you forget what it feels like to just have your own time. And a lot of us, when we are mislabeled as too serious or too mean or cold, that's actually a defense mechanism. That's actually us preventing another heartache, another person who's judging us, another person who looks at us and says, well, you were married before, now you're divorced. How can you ask for this? You have children. How can you ask for this? You didn't get your degree until this point in life. How can you ask for that? You haven't found love yet. How can you ask for that? And really, it's those, again, going back to point 2, those people don't matter. It's also about, what do you want? One of the biggest things that I work with my clients on is self-trust. It seems like such a simple concept until you go to execute on it. Until you want to date that person, take that lesson, travel to that place, and then you immediately think, what would my mom think? What would my cousin think? What would my dad say? How am I going to explain this to my friends? How about, who gives a damn? Who cares? Because when those people come to you with things, what do you say? Oh, that's great. Okay, let me help you figure out how you can make that possible. Call me if you need anything. Let me organize something for you. It's your turn. It's your turn to create space in your life for the things that you want. Something that I do quite often, and I'm going to leave you with this, is I love to update my vision boards. They don't have to be every single year. Sometimes I do them multiple times a year. Sometimes I do them based on the season that I'm in my life. The other day I got a new laptop and I changed out my screensaver. And I realized I had to update my vision board because I had gotten the things on my list. And it's not this magical thing. It's this intentional act of putting those goals in front of myself and saying, I don't care how this sounds. This is what I want. I want it. I want to experience that. Okay, I lied. One more thing. So when I got this laptop, I bought it a few days ago, maybe like a day ago. I think it was yesterday actually. But I told my husband my laptop has finally croaked. I need to go get it fixed. It's a Mac. So we went to the Apple store and I thought I could just bring it in. They were going to fix it in the back and then give it back to me. No, there's like a wait time. There's a bunch of people. It's not as packed because of where it is. It's more out of the way, but it definitely was going to take a few hours to get the appointment. And I saw that you could do a trade-in. I called my husband. They're outside in the car, right? And I asked him, what do you think? Instead of, waiting to get it fixed, maybe I can just trade it in and get another one. And he was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So in order to trade it in, first of all, my Mac was a little bit older, so the trade-in value was like 180 something bucks. And I'm telling my husband, in order to do the trade-in, I still need to get the appointment because the problem with my Mac was that I couldn't log in. I actually could not get past the sign-in screen. So I needed the appointment to get them to log in, to fix what was wrong so I can trade it in and then get the new one, right? So I go back to the car and I'm like, we can go get food and, then we'll come back. My husband here's my plan, grabs his wallet and he's counting out money. And I said to him, what are you doing? And he was like, or, Alana, you can take this money and you can go in and we can forget the trade-in, we can forget the appointment, we can forget waiting, and we can just get a new laptop. And I laughed to myself because I was like, actually, yeah. Because here I am trying to get this trade-in for what? What was it that was driving that? You know what was driving that? Guilt. Guilt that I had a laptop that even though it was dying and dead and I couldn't sign in, it wasn't falling apart, right? I could salvage this situation, right? And do I really need a new one? Yeah, I actually use it for my job, right? I do client calls on there. I build websites, landing pages. I'm editing videos, managing literally the back end of my business on there, doing meetings with my team. This is not a small thing, right? And yet I felt guilty. And I have been in relationships where a man did not see my problems as ones that he felt that it was a privilege to help me solve. It was a burden. And it was like, are you done talking? So, yeah, having a partner that listens to your problems and while you're in the middle of coming up with what feels like a logical plan, to then deviate and say, let's do this differently. Let's do this in a way that allows you to feel peace. So I went in there and I got myself the computer and we left, we got food. And on our drive back, there's a little spot at the lake. We stopped and we ate our food and we hung out. And I was like, you know what? That was a better plan. Because we would have barely been going back for the appointment. I would have had to wait, figure out what was wrong. And truth be told, it might have been free to fix or it could have been $500. And I didn't want the burden. It is okay for you to say, I just don't want the burden. I don't want the burden of being in a relationship with someone who needs hand-holding more than they are supporting me. I want to be in a friendship where I am not constantly putting out fires that you are then going back and dousing with gasoline. I want to be in spaces where I am allowed to share that I'm not having a good time, that I need support. I need someone. I need a shoulder to cry on. It's okay for you to want that in your life. It is not selfish for you to say, I'm not okay, and I'm not available to pretend that I'm okay. So yes, successful women are tired. They are tired of carrying everything and pretending that they're not tired. And when you're ready to find out what it feels like to be on the other side of that, and to feel as free as I do and many, many women do, the link to work together, if it feels aligned, is below. And I will see you as always, in the next one.